Hello, hello. Happy Monday. Welcome back to Stronger by Community. This is season 4, episode 4. You guys, I am so freaking excited for today's topic and for today's guest. I cannot wait to introduce you guys to Alison I. Today we're going to be talking all about the emotional and energetic blueprint for Overflow. And I'm going to let Alison tell you all about what that means, what that looks like, because I don't know about you guys, but your girl has been in a state of scarcity. I have been in a place of just not really having my emotions aligned with everything that I desire and everything that I want. Alison is a freaking expert when it comes to abundance and mindset and just creating a life that feels abundant and exciting and aligned with everything that you desire. So let me bring her on. Okay. I'm going to make this work. Let's see. Okay. All right. Hi.
Oh, let me just fix my lighting here. All right,
I
here
should
we go.
probably do that too.
Make sure people can see me.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, happy Monday. How is
Hi.
your day going?
It's been really busy.
Okay, busy good or
Busy
like,
good, busy good.
okay,
Yeah. Lots of fun stuff, just one thing after the other. So,
I hear you. Mondays.
you? You?
Um, yeah, it's been crazy because it's like end of the month at work, so that's always just a mess trying to like reconcile the books and deal with all of the numbers and all that. So, it's been a day of numbers.
Is that fun? Is that good? Is this bad? I don't know.
I mean, I like numbers, they
Cool.
make sense, so it's been
They
a good
do.
day. It's been a good day.
It's like the only constant, right? Numbers.
Right, exactly. But I'm excited to get into a little bit more like woo stuff with you that are not numbers.
I'm
Um,
excited to talk about it too.
awesome. So why don't you introduce yourself to everyone? Who are you? What are you about? What do you do? Tell me all the things.
Hello, I am Alison Grass. So I call myself a trauma-informed spiritual life coach and mentor for women. I have various different certifications that go behind this. I am a certified life coach, spiritual coach, breathwork coach, yoga instructor. I've done various trainings, and I'm working on a 9-month-long somatic trauma training with the Wilderness Therapy Institute right now as we speak. So in
Wow.
my line of work as a coach, I merge in science and spirituality, so science and woo, and I bring it together to help women live low stress, peaceful, high vibe, and abundant lives. So I focus a lot on nervous system regulation, manifestation, and spiritual growth. That tends to be kind of how I package my approach to coaching.
Okay. I love that. How did you enter this field? Because I know that you actually have a corporate background, right? Or a government background.
I worked in an environmental policy, so yeah, it was. I didn't work for the government, but it was very wonky, very policy-ish. I live in the DC area, so everyone works in
Right.
policy here.
Right. Okay, so tell me how you got into that. Were you always into this, or did you go through something that triggered this? Tell me all the things.
So I'm gonna make a really long story short. I've always kind of had a fascination in the woo. And I
Okay.
also have experienced a lot of trauma in my own life. So a lot of what I bring into the coaching space are things that really worked for me in my healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, it was crazy because I worked at my job for 11 years and I really
Mm-hmm.
did love it. And then all of a sudden I didn't anymore. And it was by no fault, no one else's fault, right? What was
Right.
happening was I was experiencing a spiritual awakening. And it was like, I won't go into all those details, but I was basic. Part of my spiritual awakening was like, hey, Allison, you're not on your path. You're not doing what you're supposed to. So I had like a big ego death. All this stuff happened. And I was like, I'm going to leave my job. And I was like, I'm going to create a new career path and leave my job. And so
Wow.
I did. And I started just like thinking a lot about what it was that I wanted to do. And I wanted to bring in a lot of what has worked for me on my journey of healing.
Hmm.
And basically the universe was like, you're too comfortable. We have to get you uncomfortable so that you like get on the path you're supposed to do. So long story short, I was propelled into this through a spiritual awakening.
I love that. Okay. So, like, what was that like? Like, I mean, like looking back now, what was that like going through that while like in the midst of dealing with all your busy like work stuff? Because I can
Oh
imagine
God.
that was uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. That's where how we grow, right?
Right.
That's where that space happens. So, okay. So I guess the best way to describe that would be to say like I knew something was missing and I wasn't leaning into my soul's purpose. So I started doing my own very deep personal development work and healing. And I was going through this gnarly spiritual awakening. And it was a lot of juggling, right? Because if anyone's been through a spiritual awakening, it's unpleasant. And this journey led me through a lot of self-discovery, and I started adopting a daily meditation and breathwork practice, which helped me jump timelines in healing some chronic health and stress related conditions I was having. I began noticing that my energy levels, my mood, and my emotional reactivity were changing, and my vibration was raising because my manifestations were happening quicker. So it was a mixture, like life's dualistic, right? It's not necessarily this or that, it's this and
Right.
that. So it was like challenging, but like really enriching and deep at the same time. It was a lot to juggle, but I was really happy I was experiencing it. So it was
Right.
a lot to deal with. It was really scary leaving my 9 to 5 to become a
Hmm.
full-time coach because I had a really nice salary. And there's no promises in the world of being an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
And this can kind of be a little bit what we talk about too, because being a successful entrepreneur requires leaning into risk to a certain degree.
Right.
So what was it like going through it? It was like a lot happening at once. It was a
Right.
lot. That's what it was like. But had I not leaned into the nudges I was getting, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Absolutely. And did that happen before the pandemic or during or how did
This is such a good question. It started to happen a little bit before the pandemic. But here's the thing about the pandemic, as you all know, gave you a lot of time to be alone with your own thoughts in your own head.
Oh yes.
So I feel like it really spiraled. And something that's
Okay.
super interesting is since 2020, a lot of people have been experiencing an increase in spiritual awakenings in general.
Me.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So now
yeah.
I realize you're like, I'm people.
Yeah, I am people 100%. Um, yeah, and I've been having a lot of conversations about that recently because, I think that with the pandemic, it gave us all an opportunity to look at our lives and say, like,
Mhm.
am I happy? Is this what I want? Am I where
Yes.
I want to be? And like, I hate to say like if you didn't experience any kind of like experience with those
Mhm,
questions,
mhm,
like
mhm.
you kind of missed the point. But I think that we all experience some degree of those questions.
Yeah.
Um, whether or not we chose to pursue like that path or like whether or not we chose to explore those questions, it varies from person to person. But I would say like every single person I know had like
Yeah.
an existential like moment where they were like, what am I doing?
I mean, that's the world slowed everything down, and it was like we're well, we live in a culture of go, 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 hustle, hustle,
Right,
hustle, hustle, hustle. It was forcing everybody to slow down and truly sit with themselves.
right.
Yeah. So that took people who were already contemplative souls right?
Right.
People who already went inward, and it really propelled them further. And it took people who were not necessarily contemplative souls and made them contemplative souls.
Right. I think I fell into the category number two.
Yeah.
Um, like before, I was like the kind of person that was like, I valued, or I believed that my value was in being extremely productive. So I was like,
Mhm.
I didn't know how to not do work
Yeah.
24/7. And I think like going from 16, 17 hours a day to suddenly like 3 to 4, I was like, I'm going to bang my head against the wall. Like, what am I going to do with my life? This is not
Your nervous
working.
system was like in a fight response, and
Right.
then you took the fight out of it, and it was like, what the hell is going on?
Right. Absolutely. I was like I remember the first couple weeks of the pandemic, I was so frustrated with everything that was going on. I would sit around like reading articles about what was going on in the world, and I would start like commenting on these articles and having conversations with people in the comments on the articles, which is so embarrassing, but
No,
like
it's
it
not.
kind of embarrassing might be the wrong word, but like I just didn't know what to do with all this extra time.
Hmm.
And I remember my husband saying, like, you've got a lot of pent up frustration and like annoyance with the world. Maybe start a blog. And that's exactly what led me here. Um,
That's so cool.
yeah. So it started out with like being like a troll on the internet, and it led me to just creating a space where I could just share my feelings and share my emotions. And it's so amazing that like at the end of the day, we're all different. We all have so many different unique parts, but I was able to create a space here where people related and people
Yeah.
understood what I was saying. And
And
so
you
I'm
had to get uncomfortable to be able to help people move through their discomforts.
absolutely. So when you started this whole business, did it start out as like, let me talk a little bit about my spiritual awakening, or did it start out as something different?
So it's funny. I've been a coach for, I guess, about 2 years now.
Okay.
I'm guesstimating. I don't remember specifically, right? Like, but
Right.
I've been doing it full time for about a year.
Right.
And it was an evolution. I've kind of like evolved into my niche over time.
Hmm.
I actually started off as a spiritual stress coach
Okay.
because, as you remember from the master class of mine you took, I know a lot about the nervous system
Yes, you
and
do.
nervous system regulation through breath work and other mindfulness practices really helped me learn how to find inner peace. And I was like, everybody needs to do this. I got to share it with
Right.
everybody. But I continue to evolve over time because I've always really loved the woo, and I've always really loved like I had a limiting belief when I first started. When I
Hmm.
first started coaching, like people don't want to learn the woo from me, which turned out to be false because a lot of people want to learn the woo from me. But it just kind
I
of
love
evolved over
that.
time. I was like, I really desire teaching people this too. So in over time, things just kind of evolved till I became the trauma-informed spiritual life coach and mentor.
I love that. And I think it's one of those things that like everyone tells you when you're first starting an online business, but like nobody listens. You have to kind of figure it out for yourself. Like your first business idea is probably not what you're going to end up with.
No.
And I think that just being open to that and being willing to explore like wherever this online path takes you that's kind of what leads you towards this abundance and this overflow and like something that's exciting rather than stressful. So,
I like that because it kind of made me think too. So, when you start off as an entrepreneur, this is a really good segue. When you start off as an entrepreneur,
mhm,
you're going to have a certain income goal, you're going to have a certain desire, you're going to feel like an imposter to a certain degree, you're going to work through that crap, then you're going to hit it, you're going to feel really
right,
good, you'll sustain it for a little bit, you'll come up with new goals, and you're going to feel like an imposter all over again. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of the cycle of being an entrepreneur. Like nobody tells you, hey, well, I'm here to tell you if anyone's watching, hey, being an entrepreneur can be triggering as fuck if you do not have the right tools to help you manage your emotions. And emotions are energy in motion. This is why I talk about it as a blueprint. So with every new income goal you hit, you're going to be triggered. You're going to feel like an imposter again. You're going to need to do more shifting. You're going to feel like you don't know what you're doing at the beginning, and you're going to feel like you don't know what you're doing in the middle, and you probably are going to feel like you don't know what you're doing at any time because you are an evolving person, so your business is evolving with you.
I love that. And that kind of, you're kind of making me think of like something, somebody said this to me recently. If you're experiencing imposter syndrome, it means you care. Like, I'd love to know what you think of that, about that, because a true fraud, a true imposter doesn't give a shit. Like, they are going to do whatever is necessary to get the money that they desire. They will do horrible things, but if you are experiencing imposter syndrome, it means that you truly care and that you are truly in the right space. So keep
You
going.
know, that kind of goes hand in hand with my understanding too, because um, psychologically speaking, a lot of times people who experience imposter syndrome are high achievers.
Hmm.
And so high achievers are going to have a lot of care knitted in there, right?
Right.
Um, I do believe that when it comes to healing, so imposter syndrome being something that you need to heal, I do think that when it comes to healing, you pull back layers and you get less and
Right.
less affected and more confident. And then
Right.
all of a sudden you feel affected like you used to, and you're like, oh, that was interesting. What affected me? And you get curious about it, and you realize there's a
Mhm.
different part that you need to peel back again. But
Right.
what happens is as you heal it, it doesn't like show up in your face as much.
Right. Right. I know what you mean. So it's like it's still gonna show up. Like imposter syndrome is kind of just part of the game, but it just doesn't impact you as much. And like you don't it's not as debilitating after a while.
It's like I was talking to one of my entrepreneur friends the other day, and I told her about this breakthrough I had doing some inner child healing, and she goes, "Are you healed?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I'm not healed." I was like, "I just pulled back some layers," and she
Right.
and she was, I was like, I've moved, I've had a breakthrough. And she's like, see, that's my problem. I always think that when I have a breakthrough, I'm healed. And then when I experience an emotion again, I'm disappointed in myself. And I'm like, no, no, no. We're here on earth to live
Mhm.
a human experience. If you
Right.
don't feel polarities in your emotions, then when the really good shit happens, you're not going to feel that either.
Oh, that I've been thinking about that a lot lately, so I'd love to hear a little bit more about that because like recently I've been thinking like, bad shit kind of has to happen because like you said, like if you don't experience the bad, then how are you ever going to get really happy and really excited about the good stuff? So, like right now I'm experiencing some personal shit in the background. We all are. But I just had a really good sales day yesterday and I was so excited about that. So it's like you get to have both. It gets to be both. And like if you experience one, it just means that you care and you get to experience the other.
Yeah, and coming from that spiritual lens that I bring into my work, so I have this belief that we all incarnated and picked our bodies when we came
Hmm.
here, and we chose certain struggles, and the struggle is supposed to teach our soul something very enriching about the human experience. And
Hmm.
this is like really good way, actually, it's a really good way to talk about this is to talk about it in the context of manifestation, because that's kind of what the
Okay.
emotional energetic blueprint is. So
Right.
when it comes to manifesting, if you were like, I am going to manifest being a millionaire, and then $1 million showed up, your nervous system, first off, would not know what to do and be like, what? What just happened? also we need some of that contrast so that we are really joyful and appreciative about the things that come into our life as well. And
Right.
so we need to have a little bit of that human aspect there.
Hmm. I like that. That's a really interesting way to put it. I like that.
I mean, really,
Um,
imagine if, like, everything you wanted, it was like there right
right,
away. Some of it would be so big, it would be overwhelming. And
right,
then you also wouldn't appreciate it. It would really, like, decrease joy that we experience in life.
right. It's almost like you kind of have to, like, having been somebody who struggled with debt, who struggled with financial issues, like, I really appreciate every dollar. I celebrate every dollar that comes into
Good,
my business because
good.
if I can't celebrate $10 or $30 or like the smaller offers that come in or
Yes.
that people purchase, then why in hell would the universe ever give me like $10,000, $100,000, $1 million? If you celebrate every single dollar, it's not like, oh my God, like I can't spend it now. Like you want to put it back out into the universe. But if you appreciate every dollar that comes your way, then you're
Yeah,
opening yourself up to more, to receiving more.
1,000%. It all matters. And I just kind of had this thought too. You know how we were talking earlier about imposter syndrome?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to pull in this idea. So
Okay.
this is kind of why doing inner work is so important as an entrepreneur. So I have this idea and this theory which I've seen manifest in my clients' lives, that healing work is manifestation work because our internal reality is creating our external reality. So what I
Yeah.
see a lot with people who have imposter syndrome, entrepreneurs who have imposter syndrome, is that they go on this binging spree of investing in business coaching over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I'm not dogging business coaching. I worked with a business coach the first year of being an entrepreneur. I needed to learn how to run a
Right.
business. But once you know how to run a business, you know how to run a business. What it tells me, and I see it a lot, like people have been in business longer than me and they're like binging this like over and over again. Then they get frustrated because they're learning the
Right.
exact same shit that what this
Right.
tells me is that they don't believe that they know what they're doing. They feel like they're missing something, but I'm here to tell you the only thing that they're missing at this point is an unshakable belief in themselves, is doing that inner work.
Mm.
And that they are neglecting the most important part of what it takes to master the emotional and energetic blueprint for overflow, and that is the inside game.
I love that. Like, yeah, I mean, I have a couple of different coaches, but you're right. I'm in two programs that are for business, but one is more like, she's starting me with just making my first 6 figures, right? First 5 figures. Um, first 5 to 6 figures, whatever. Um,
She's making you rich.
the
She's
other,
getting you rich.
yeah, she's making me rich, exactly. The other is more like focusing on marketing and sales. So it's
Mhm.
like a little bit like two different parts of my business. But I genuinely don't think that I need more business coaching
Right.
because I'm getting everything that I need out of those two programs. The
Yep.
mindset stuff, I feel like I can't get enough. I'm obsessed. You're
Nobody can get
always
enough of that.
right, like you're always unlocking different parts of your heart, your soul, your mind, like because there's
Hmm.
so many different like things that you can unlock there. Um, so
Yes.
I love that.
When it comes to manifesting too, like in bringing more abundance into our lives, our mental state, we talked about this a little bit earlier too. Our mental state, and also there's three components that make up your emotional energetic blueprint: your emotional resiliency, your mindset or subconscious programming, and your energetic alignment. So your
Right.
mental state, your emotional resilience, your beliefs, your shadows, your emotional wounds, that's going to play a really big role in shaping the outcome of your success.
Right.
So I think it's good you're working with those business coaches. You got to know how to do that stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you got to know
Absolutely.
how. But I think
Absolutely.
some people just get so hung up in like, I'm not making money. What am I doing wrong? And they're not actually doing anything wrong. It's just
Right.
they're not, their inside game is not where they need it to be, because our internal reality is creating our external reality.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, and like that's so perfectly said, because I remember I had invested in other business coaches that I just, I wasn't ready for. And
Mm-hmm.
really, when I look back and reflect on that period when I was kept investing in more business coaching instead of focusing on the mindset stuff, I was just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it
Yeah.
would stick, but it wasn't sticking because I hadn't yet done any of the inner work. So, like, you can implement, take all this action, but until you really truly trust yourself and believe in
Yeah.
yourself, then it's like you're just kind of running on the hamster wheel.
Is that why you were kind of laughing earlier when I was like,
Yeah.
you keep it, you're like, oh, you're describing my past version of myself.
Oh, yeah. I was like, wow, okay, I feel called out right now.
It's
um,
a pretty normal thing that happens.
Absolutely. It's like, and I see so many people just saying, "Oh, I just need one more coach. Like this coach is gonna be it." It's like, why don't you ask yourself, like, how are you actually feeling right now about your business? I wish that I had asked myself that
Yeah.
question. um,
Yeah.
my biggest problem was I kept just taking all the action, but like I didn't know what my business was here to do other than make money for myself.
It's kind
Um,
of like, so it's kind of like the collective consciousness. In the spiritual world, we believe that we all have a consciousness, which is just like our way of seeing and perceiving the world around us. And we believe that we're all part of a collective consciousness together. So just like the energy of the collective consciousness is kind of reflected in the worldly affairs that are going on
right,
across the globe, our own internal reality is creating our own um, mirror. In when you're an entrepreneur, your mirror, your business takes up a big part of your mirror, and so you're going to
right,
see a lot of what's going on in here being
right.
reflected right back to you.
Oh, it's so wild. And I think like for a long time I was like kind of in denial about that. Um like I was like, oh, I want to help like these people, but like, I had never experienced anything that they're experiencing right now. And it's just they say that your ideal client is usually just a previous version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that until you can come to terms with who you've been and where you've been and what that journey has looked like, it's very hard to nail down your ideal client.
Definitely.
Now that I've done some of that work and I've explored who I was and where I've been and some of the stories that I used to hold on to, now that I've gotten really honest with myself about my own journey and my own experience, I can describe my ideal client with my eyes closed. It you have to do that inner work. You have to get really honest with yourself and look at your journey through, I guess, kind of objective lens. Um,
Yep.
and it it's been really powerful being able to do that hero journey for myself and look at where I've been and what's helped me so that I can actually help other people.
Yep. Absolutely.
I love this conversation. I could talk about it all day.
Ah, me too.
I know you do. Uh-oh. Can you
It
see
was
me?
interesting. I'm sorry, what were you saying? It was breaking up a little bit.
Oh yeah, my app must have gotten so excited by what we're talking about that it started glitching. The
I think it's
universe is
rainy where
like,
you are, right?
yeah, it is. I think we're getting a little bit
Yeah.
of that hurricane weather.
Same here. It always like causes me to have weird connection. No, you're a
Absolutely.
1000% right. Because like I I was really in like a place of observation. So I've been in a lot of different coaching programs. You know, it's
Hmm.
important as coaches that we practice what we preach, right? And invest
Right.
in ourselves. And it was interesting. So I've been in a lot of group programs, and I would kind of like watch, like, why am I doing very well? Why are certain people not doing well? Why are certain people doing well? And then I'm not a business coach. People are probably like, why do you keep talking about entrepreneurship? I have a program for entrepreneurs, but I don't necessarily only work with entrepreneurs. I work with
Right.
overwhelmed women, and let's be face it, like entrepreneurs are some overwhelmed women. So,
Oh
so
yeah.
I'd be watching and evaluating, and then I started this like manifestation program, which I've since retired. But that manifestation program, it was
Mhm.
manifestation and trauma healing. All the women who signed up were entrepreneurs, and I was like, well, this is interesting. And what I realized when I came to realize is that successful and lucrative business owners really embody three major tenets: emotional resiliency, an unshakable belief in themselves, and they know how to attract and activate abundance.
Mhm.
And a lot of this goes down to like having a regulated nervous system, consistently facing your fears, working through your subconscious programming. And this is really like what sets people apart in the
Mhm.
game of successful entrepreneurship.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, so how does somebody know? I guess somebody who's watching right now, how does somebody know if they are not uh following an energetically aligned blueprint, like towards overflow? Because
Okay, good
yeah.
question. Good question. So I think there's a few different ways you'll probably be able to know. One is you have a desire for your business, like I desire being a six-figure earner or
Mhm.
whatever it is, and you're in an income plateau and you're not able to budge. Income plateaus are really good ways to identify if you're not in alignment, because let's say you're making $5,000 months, but you're really like the long-term desire is 10,000 plus, and you've been striving towards this for, I'm sorry, you're overwhelmed, Jessica. It is the worst. It's the plight of so many entrepreneurs. What do you do? And so if they're feeling that kind of plateau right there, and you've been working, you've been doing all the strategy, you've been doing all the things that you learned from that business coach, and you're not budging, and you're watching other people on social media, and you're like, what does she have that I don't have? She must have some kind of magic marketing scheme. This is probably an indication you're not in alignment, because when we're in alignment, we start to receive more easier. So that amount of money that you desire is going to be coming in with more flow. And I guarantee you that woman or that other person that you are eyeballing, like, what does she have? I don't have. It's not any kind of strategy. Like, like you wouldn't be making that $5,000 a month or whatever it is if you didn't have that strategy to begin with, right? Like you're doing something really good. It's her
Right.
inside game that's getting her to the area that you're coveting.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like when I look back at previous like content that I've made that like didn't sell, one of the first things I noticed is how I was phrasing everything. And that was coming from a lack of confidence in my
Yeah,
offer. And that was coming from a lack of confidence in my ability to do this. And that like it goes into that game of it really matters how you're feeling and how you're feeling about what you're saying. So I think
yeah,
that there's just something to, really trusting yourself and really believing in yourself and really believing that what you have to offer the world is so fucking awesome that people are going to pay for it no matter what. Um, I didn't always feel that
1,000%.
way. Now I do. And
Yeah,
that
and,
tells me
and
that I'm in alignment.
everybody listening, it's possible to feel that way.
Absolutely. Like if
And
you,
what might happen to both you and me, even though we're in really good places right now, what might happen to both of us is we have our eyes set on a bigger set of the pie, and we
mhm,
notice some of these old feelings creeping in, and it's time for us to invest in someone that will help us level up emotionally where we need to be.
absolutely. And I think just being willing to like invest in yourself. I mean, that's the ultimate like I'm betting on myself right now because I know I'm worth it. Like once
Yeah.
you adopt that mindset instead of like, oh, I can't afford it or oh, it's too expensive. Once you say like, I'm betting money on myself that like I will make this investment back and then some, like you're telling the universe like give me the money because I'm going to do something amazing with it, you know?
It's funny you should bring that up because I just wrote a post the other day similarly about this, about investing in yourself. And so,
Hmm.
investing in yourself, I think first off, if you are an entrepreneur, and especially if you're in the kind of work that you and I are, is super important because you have to practice what you preach. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Right.
you gotta, that's becoming matched energy for your desires, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
investing in yourself should feel uncomfortable. It should feel a little bit scary, but it also needs to be mixed in with excitement and possibility. So if you're scared and excited, this is a recipe for transformation. If you're not scared or excited, you're not pushing up against your edge enough. But if you're just fearful, if there's no excitement, do not proceed. Your nervous system feels really, really unsafe and it's not worth it. Find a lower level investment to go with at that point.
Ooh,
So
I like that.
yeah, I mean, you don't want to put yourself in a trauma response spending money, right? Just
Right.
scale it back, build up that emotional resiliency of investing until you feel safer investing at a higher and higher level.
I like that a lot. I'm gonna have to like write that down and like meditate
I'll
with
send
that
you my
one.
post
Yes, we do.
because it kind
I'll be
of says
looking.
that in a different way.
Right. Yeah, I would love to see it. Um,
And you know
um,
what? Investing in yourself really is a good way to work on your money mindset because I remember the first time
oh
I
yeah.
invested in myself, it was like a $5,000 program. I was fucking terrified. But I also, it was for 6 months. So, I mean, it wasn't like
Right.
so 6 months over that amount of time isn't, I was terrified, but, nothing bad happened. Only
Right.
good things happened. So it taught my brain, hey, nothing bad happens when you do this. And it built that emotional resiliency around investing.
Absolutely. And yeah, I love that. Like I remember a couple months ago, I was in a place where I was like, I'm really afraid to spend more money. Like, I haven't really made that much money in my business, but I saw this program that I needed to spend them. Like, I just needed. I knew I needed it. And so I remember saying to myself, if I spend this money, I'm going to do the work and it's going to fucking help me. And it did. And because of that, I was able to get that same amount of money and then some into my own business. And it's like when you put that out into the universe, it comes back to you in so many different
Absolutely.
ways.
You gave a massive signal to the universe when you did that. By leaning into trust, even when your ego was like, don't do this, it's scary. You were like, no, I'm going to do it anyways. And in that moment of leaning into trust, when you felt a little bit of fear, you cracked open a really big portal for receiving. You took an aligned action towards your goal, and the universe was like, I see this. Here is some matched energy back for you in the form of money. Because that's all money
Absolutely.
is. It's just, and everything's energy. Your energy, I'm energy. So it's just energy.
I love that. Okay, Allison, it has been amazing. We are going to have to do this again because clearly we have so much to talk about. Um, this was like, tell everyone how they can work with you, how they can connect with you, because you are just a total vibe. I love talking to you and I love all of your content. So,
Thank you so much for having me on. If you're an entrepreneur and you are interested in going from overwhelmed to overflowing in your business, then my Happy, Healthy, and Wealthy program is probably what you're looking for. It's a high level 6 month anti-business coaching program for the female entrepreneur who's been unable to manifest and make the amount of money that she desires in her business. You're going to master the exact emotional and energetic blueprint necessary for overflow in it, heal your nervous system, shadows, self-sabotaging beliefs, while calibrating your energy to overflow. I have 2 spots left in this program, and I'm going to close enrollment October 15th because I'm going to shift to enrolling for something else really juicy, which is going to be my
Ooh.
new, I'll give you guys a sneak preview, my new manifestation mastermind. I'm in a pre-sale mode. If you are super curious, this is for entrepreneurs or not entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So if you're super curious about that and exploring the pre-sale price, we can have a conversation in the DMs. Regardless, give me a follow at Be at Peace with Alison. It looks like Beat Peace with Alison, but we're not beating
That's how I
peace.
used to be. That's how I thought it was for a while, I'm not gonna lie.
We're not beating peace. We want peace. We don't want to beat it. It's
I
be
love
at
it.
peace with Alison. So give me a
I love
follow over
it.
there. I have lots of other juicy things that we could talk about too, and maybe just like what I have to say on there.
Absolutely. I love your content. So go give Allison a follow. Thank you so much for being here, and we will catch up later tonight or tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Of course. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.